2. You've got it in front of you. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Amen. Now, this is obviously from the book of Romans. Book of Romans is a book that has an awful lot of great theological content in it. It's a brilliant book. It's something that I've read it a number of times, and there's just so much in it. But the first 11 chapters deals with really crucial things, which we're not going to look at today, but like how our sin has been dealt with. We're not under law, but under grace. And we've been adopted into the family of God. All of us here today who believe we're adopted into God's family. We were, in the past, it was Israel, but now we and Israel are adopted into one family. And wherever we go in the world right now, we've got a family, haven't we? Isn't that wonderful? Obviously, if there's a church there. You can go anywhere in the world, and yep, I'm adopted into the family of God. I'm one with you. And this is amazing news. It's brilliant. And Paul has basically thrashed his way through all these different themes in the first 11 chapters. And now he's got to chapter 12, and he's basically saying, because of all this, you need to live like this now. This is practical application that we're getting here in these last 4 chapters of Romans. And that's what we're going to be thinking about to a very limited degree in this next year. As I said earlier on, we're going to be going through verses 9 to 20 just to show how we're supposed to be transformed inwardly, how God is transforming us all inwardly. And that's our aim. So we are going to have a reaction to all that's been said in in chapters 1 to 11. Our reaction to that is, I want to live for God now. That's what I want to do because of all the mercies. You see that in verse 1? I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God. The mercies of God are being washed clean of your sin, being under his grace, being in the family of God, being adopted in. That's the mercies of God. Because of that, he's saying, I'm appealing to you because of God's mercies. Be like this. Imagine you were an orphan slave. Okay, probably hard for us to imagine nowadays because slavery in this culture isn't very common. Back in the time of Paul, it would have been common, but imagine you were an orphan slave condemned to death because you had stolen from your master or done something terrible. Yeah? So that's you. You're condemned to death. Along comes someone else, a stranger you don't know, and says to your master, I am going to give my son in payment for punishment. He's going to be, I want my son to be punished in the place of your slave. Okay? So your punishment is going to be taken by this man's son. Then, on top of that, I'm going to pay the ransom money. I'm going to give £10,000 or whatever is what life is worth. I'm going to pay ransom money to set him free. You, young orphan slave who's condemned to death, is now going to be adopted into my family. I'm going to forgive everything you've done. You're going to inherit, you're going to have all my wealth. You're going to share all the wealth I have. And one day when I die, you're going to inherit everything. Okay? Just imagine that. That would what would you just sit there and just shrug your shoulders saying, yeah, fine? You wouldn't, would you? If that happened to you, you would be overjoyed. I've been set free. I'm not going to face death. And basically that's us, isn't it? We're condemned to death. We're held captive by Satan. And yet God has set us free. He's put his son in, has been punished in our place. He's paid the ransom. We've been adopted into the family and we've inherited all the wealth. That's what you have right now. If that's you, you should be transformed. You should be overjoyed and think, wow, what can I do to please my new master, my new father that I have? How can I please him? That should be a reaction. It shouldn't just be a shrugging the shoulders. Yep, I want to live for you. I want to be a living sacrifice, as it says in verse 1. To present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. If you've been brought into this new family, that should be your desire, to be a living sacrifice. So how can I please God with my life now? What can I do? And for starters, we hopefully stop doing the things we did in the past. We don't visit places we shouldn't visit. I remember when I was 17 or 18, I went to a casino. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But I would never go back to a casino unless I went there to go and visit someone or help someone. I wouldn't go to a casino. You know, you wouldn't be doing harmful things to your body. You wouldn't be smoking, having excess alcohol. You know, you don't want to do things like that. Now, we live in a world full of evil. You can't avoid evil in this world, but you can't avoid evil all the time and problems and difficulties, but we want to give our best to God, don't we? As a living sacrifice. So I want to spend time in the Word. I want to spend time praying. I want to spend time in fellowship with one another. You know, whoever I work for, I want to be a good example of witness. I want to be honest in my work. I want to work hard at my work. I want to get on with my family members. I want to do everything I can to please God. That is being a living sacrifice. That is being holy and acceptable to God. You can't, you remember, please do not, and I'll repeat this again and again and again. You can't, you're in heaven already, you're in his family, you're not going to earn your way in. Okay? This is nothing, absolutely nothing to do with earning your way in. You're already in. He's accepted you, he's forgiven you. But you want to have a transformed life, which we're going to think about a little bit later on. And that's what I think this living sacrifice has to do with the transformed life we're going to talk about a bit later. It says here in verse 1, which is your spiritual worship. Being a living sacrifice, it's not just come to church on Sunday, it's every day. Spiritual worship. Another way of translating it is logical or rational service. It makes sense, doesn't it? If you've been taken as an orphan slave and be brought into God's kingdom, it's logical, rational to live a life that's transformed and you're worshiping God, isn't it? That would make sense. And that is your rational, logical, or spiritual worship. It makes sense to do that. And we should be aiming to live entirely for God. And that's why right now, we're going to sing, I Surrender All. Sorry, Carol, you have to get up again. And all to Jesus I surrender. All to him I freely give. Now, it's a struggle, isn't it? This freely give business. It's not an instant thing. But over time, we want to just give everything to him, surrender to him, and be a living sacrifice. Just now. help us see what this really means. So I'll read the entirety of Philip's. So, it gets hold of our mind and it molds it, doesn't it? You can see all these holes in there. That's the world molding us right now. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Ugh! you know, what are some of the things do you think how the world squeezes you? Can you think of things? How is the world molding and squeezing you right now? Or you see going on around you? What do you think how it's trying to squeeze you into a shape like that? Can you think of anything? Advertisements, yeah, they do that. You need this, don't you? If you don't have this, your life won't be happy. Anything else? Peer pressure, yeah? Yeah, peer pressure. How can peer pressure affect you? I suppose it's the way I think of that especially when I was a young Christian. Peer pressure, I was afraid to speak out about being a Christian. I didn't want people to think me as weird. But to be thought of as a Christian, that was really difficult. Because as a Christian, you are very different to everyone else, aren't you? I know with friends of mine who I've spoken to about my faith, you can definitely sense that, oh dear, I'm going to steer. And they won't even go near the subject with me because they're going to know straight away that I'm going to go, but they don't, and as a young Christian, the peer pressure is huge. Even when you're older, it can still affect you in certain ways. Anything else? How the world affects us and molds that mind of ours?
The world will end when man says so.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. And right now, everyone's saying that we're going to destroy our world, aren't we? With using too many fossil fuels and letting our cows belch. So the world's going to end because of that. It's fear, isn't it? Yeah. And they don't know that there's a God who's in control and who has made promises in his word here that he's going to make it. It's true. So yeah, the world puts fear in us. Anything else you can think?
Expectations of people to be happy and wealthy and
Social media does that, doesn't it? It says, I have the perfect life, and you should be having that perfect life, the perfect wardrobe, the perfect car, perfect body, perfect husband and wife. All this, we've all got the perfect family, perfect, wonderful kids, all this is stuff. Yeah. A perfect body, especially for young girls, I think is a massive, that there you really see their poor minds being constricted by that, by the world, what influence is telling them to do. Money as well is a big thing, isn't it, I think? Money and I would often hide, the fact that, going back to peer pressure, people would say to me, why do you go to church? Why don't you come out and do this? Why do you spend time reading your Bible? Why waste your time? Although it's quite a good witness. I remember my troop sergeant. Not that I'm perfect anyway, but it just shows that the world does get the brain. But that's what it does on the outside. The good news is the world's trying to do this to you. But God's doing something else. Now, the word that Paul uses here, do not be conformed, molded to this world. Okay, so this is the molding. Do not be conformed. Philip says he wants God to remold you. The Greek word is transformed. Transformed, the root for that, the Greek for that is metamorpho. Metamorpho. Does the word metamorpho read anything? Transform in Greek is metamorpho. Does metamorpho in English, can you think of an English word that might be similar? Kathleen, yes? Metamorphosis, yes. It's an inward transformation. That's why Philip says, remold you on the inside. Metamorphosis. So, what have we got going through metamorphosis here? Can't see. Yeah, it is. Well, it's this is a chrysalis here. So first of all, you have the caterpillar, don't you? Then it turns into a chrysalis, that bit there. And whilst you're in a chrysalis, I always find it fascinating. There's a change going on inwardly, isn't it? You've got this hard shell on the outside, and inwardly, this ugly little caterpillar or chrysalis is turning into that. Has anyone here seen it? Is it A Bug's Life? What was it? Yeah. I'm a beautiful butterfly. Yeah, except he wasn't a beautiful butterfly. But there's this massive transformation from being an ugly little chrysalis to this beautiful butterfly. And that is what God is doing inside of us right now. And one day, when we get to heaven, we will be that butterfly. So he is right now transforming us, metamorphosing us inwardly. The world has done all it can to squeeze you into its mold. But we can confidently say, God is going to metamorphose me. Now he's going to transform me inwardly. I may be struggling with this molding business going on, but God is going to do it inwardly in me. And just as I said earlier about the casino. When I was about 17, 18, I was peer pressure dragged along to a casino. And I was in the process of becoming a Christian. And the metamorpho was going on within me. And I knew I shouldn't be there. But anyway, there was this gambling roulette table. And I thought, easy influence, 17, 18, so I'll join in. And I started doing that. as the compere kept on pushing the chips towards me, and I just felt so bad. I thought, what am I going to do? I'm just winning all this money. And I just thought, you see these films where it's heavy sometimes come down and whisk you off. So visions of that go through your mind. And that never happened. It was when I was young. Yeah, really bad. I was winning so much money. And I knew inwardly gambling was wrong. Doing this was wrong. But I had loads of money suddenly come my way. And then what I did was I thought, I just don't want this money. So I put my chips all over the place. So I knew I'd lose it all. I just didn't want it. And thankfully, you may think I'm mad, but suddenly I lost all this money I had. Had I gone away, I went with not a lot of money there to gamble that night. I could have come away with a huge amount of money. But I just said no. And so I just promptly lost it all. But the relief at losing it all was great. And then I prayed a prayer, and God answered that prayer straight away, which is a weird. I may have shared this story before, but I don't want to go in that. But I just want to give you an example. As a young believer, I was only been a Christian a few months, weeks, and God was doing a transformation within me. Most people would say, if you said to an unbeliever now, I was winning loads, I could have got away with loads of money, they'd say, you're mad, you should have kept the money. Or if you really want to do something good, give it away to charity. But no, in my heart, I knew what I was doing was wrong. And I just lost it all. That's transformation. We want to please God more than we want to please ourselves. And it's ongoing, isn't it? With all of us here today, however long we've been a Christian, we know God is slowly chipping away in us. We sang earlier on, melt me, mold me, break me. And that's what he's doing, isn't it? For all of us at times. As ongoing work, he's transforming us inwardly and changing us. And then we're going to live out these verses 9 to 12. Now, as God changes us, we're going to learn to love one another, learn to love our enemies, learn to be generous, hospitable, turn the other cheek when we have to. That's what verses 9 to 20 are all about at the end of Romans 12. That's the inward transformation that happens within us. So we'll be, as I said already, we'll be looking at next year, over the next year. But as I go through it, I'm going to probably keep repeating this. Please don't think this is a way to earn your own connection. Yep. This is a reaction of goodness, and he's doing the work. He's transforming us. Titus chapter 3, verse 5 says, he saved us, not because of works done by us in righteousness. Okay? He saved, nothing I've done anything good, but according to his own mercy, by the washing of regeneration and renewal. It's nothing to do with what you're doing. So to God transform us. One more bit of scripture just to finish up, which I think is really good for us to think about, just to get across the work of the Holy Spirit in our life. I'm just going to read